Greetings, Saroth the Mage, recording and streaming as I promised I would. Bang on whatever time I said it would be. We have much to get through today, brethren. The whole slew of beginning magic. That weird, esoteric praxis. Praxis means rituals and the philosophy that goes along with them. It's kind of combining a practice with a mythological framework, I'd call it. So today, I told you the first things you'll need yesterday would be journals. The most important thing a magician has is his ability to remember what the hell he was thinking when he's experiencing these altered states of consciousness, which today I have decided is pretty much what magic's all about. Thus, my combining one form of gnosis with another form of gnosis to get thosis gnosis. So, while no one's here, I will fill you in on the birth of Saroth the Mage, because it's been very confusing the way I've described it. I noticed I'd really try not to watch these videos because it's you kind of need to, because the whole point is a magical diary, so I need to be able to look back. But I really don't enjoy watching myself on camera. I know it's a very tight around the shoulders, so I'm going to try and relax a little bit today, yeah. So yeah, I've been... after yesterday's stream, it was ace. A few people jumped in. It was a great honour, and I was on a total buzz. Just little things make my day. And then I had an orgy of live chats last night. I was where was I first? Positive Momentum, was it? And then Saturday Night Hive with Jerry Cthulhu and his merry band. And then I think I finished off some... oh no, it was Omni Eris. Him first, and then I finished off at Jerry's at like 4 in the morning, so it's like a virtual pub crawl, with no alcohol in this case. So yeah, magic for beginners, that's just something to try and get people that actually practice magic to click on for 2 seconds so I can tell them all about me and my resurrected being. And the key to this, the whole Saroth the Mage thing, I described it yesterday as my first trip. I often refer to this second period as my first, because before Saroth the Mage and before YouTube, before even Facebook, my partner and I kind of see her as my ex-wife. We're not together anymore, but we're very good friends, and we have a baby, which is the magic that we kind of, we did. We put it together ourselves with the help of the gods. So blessings be to that, and she's a wonderful ally and a friend, and if you can work magic with someone else, I highly recommend it. It reinforces the good points, and you can also balance out, if you see someone going a little bit astray, with a good checks and balances on each other's sanity sometimes. Because was it me or was it someone else that said the artistic imagination always trembles on the edge of the apocalypse? See, I had that quote in my head, and I've searched for it online, and I cannot find it. So I am now claiming it. I'm claiming it as my own. So yes, the artistic imagination does always tremble on the edge of the apocalypse. And while I'm here, I might as well say a few words on my take on the New Age and how it was kind of a positive thing, and then it got swamped and now it's finding its feet again, I think. When, there was a lot of alternative spirituality from the 60s onwards, but in a backwater like Aberdeen, it took a long time to penetrate. Although we do have like Findhorn up the road, which is a very old sort of hippie magical community, but it's really unfriendly up there. I've been a couple of times and I didn't like the vibe at all. And they've got the little hobbit houses, which are very cute, but not a very friendly bunch really to me, and they're very rude. There's a tiny little bookshop, and there's been several times when I've been politely trying to get past someone in these tiny little aisles, and they're talking about, oh yeah, I was on the Astrals last night, and they're usually very rich Europeans, and they just won't move out your way. So, Findhorn. So where was I again? See, this will happen, does happen. I catch a wind, and then it drops. But I always have my notes. Why don't I refer to my notes? So the first thing I wrote today was initiation. By starting magical practice, you are in fact, that is an initiation in itself. But for some, especially people who are a bit more traditional and into kind of lodge magic, like real old style lodges with group rituals, etc., initiations are very, very important to them and to the whole system. That they see it as kind of imprinting astral markers on you and stuff, which I'm not sure if I really buy. But in all societies they have initiation rituals, and in the West, as in so many, sorry I keep wiping my nose like that again, she knows. In the West we have let all our rituals fall away in our secular society, and kids obviously, our drives are still the same. So I remember as a teenager we had rituals, but they involved lots of beer and pot and etc. So initiation, do you need to do one when you're starting magic? Well, I think it's a good idea, and I also think, stop doing that. I also think that getting involved with a kind of group, but not too heavily. If you're interested in a particular stream of magic, like I was obviously read a lot of Crowley growing up, but never thought I would practice it. It seemed impossibly complicated and weird, and I thought you needed psychic powers to even begin to do stuff like that. But I've since found out that you don't, or perhaps we all have psychic powers anyway. Hello, whoever's watching, thank you very much. We've still got plenty of time here. It's only 1:10, and I'm going till 2 o'clock. I'm just going to talk and talk and talk, as I usually do. So yes, finding I'm presuming that you've read a few books on magic, or are going to, and you have a kind of idea of what you'd like it to be like. I'm doing that thing on my shoulders again as well. Sorry, there'll be a lot of self-correction today, because it's still my only third live stream, and they are a bit weirder than filming in the camera, because you can always go private if you mess up. I guess you can do live streams private as well, but let's hope that's not necessary. So what I did, all I can speak is from my own experience. And you know what I want to start with, actually, how it all started in the first place. Because, like I said, I'd read all the magic books, but it was more almost a literary thing. I loved books, I loved reading, I also loved fiction. William Burroughs, of course, but I read a lot of Will Self, Martin Amis, Dostoevsky, Kafka. I did English at uni, so I just always loved books and wanted to do Shakespeare and stuff at university. It was fantastic. That opened a whole new world in literary theory as well. Like I say, that was really fascinating for me. So, what I was talking about again. Hold on. Yeah, the experience that started the whole thing, the whole magical thing with me and Lato. And I can't remember if we were actually together at the time or not, but, as you do. So anyway, she'd been doing Reiki for a couple of years by this time, I think we were estranged actually, and I think I was deep in you know where. So, but we were still seeing each other sporadically, and she'd been started with spiritual healing. She progressed to Reiki because spiritual healing had too many sort of Christian overtones, and they were all sort of almost like a knitting circle, and Latte was a bit more hardcore than that. So she went for Reiki, and she got absolutely fantastic at chakra ray and all that, the symbols. And it's a to me, it's just a very powerful form of Eastern magic because there's hardly any touch involved. It's all drawing the symbols. So for some reason, I never asked for a session, and then this one afternoon, I said, "Well, why don't you just try me?" I must have been in need of healing. I usually was. So I sat on the stool, wrapped up. She always has these fleecy blankets. I'm sure it was the orange one that we still use, like a Hare Krishna orange blanket. Wrapped me up, and I just kind of was drifting off, quite relaxed. There was probably music on, very similar to this. And all of a sudden, I just saw an image of just like outer space. It felt like I'd been lifted out of my body. Now, this is no lie. Saroth has pledged never to lie, and he never would. But for a second, no, for a few seconds, it was just, I was being shown, like, the only way I can describe it is being shown a vision on a full screen inside your head. Like, my whole headspace was just this image of the earth from a great distance away. And it was voices spoke, no lies. And at the time, I was kind of trembling, and there was little tears running down my cheeks, but it wasn't sadness. I was just experiencing it. I was wondering what the hell was going on, because I am a skeptical person, and I always will be, because I think you need to be in this game. So by this time, Jill had obviously felt my shoulders shaking and stuff, and she knew something was going on. So the basic message was, we are the Pleiadians. Look at the earth. Look at the earth. And it was just a beautiful, like the blue marble. It's hard to, I mean, that was like way back in 2006 or something, even possibly even before, because it took me a while for even that to really start. But it did kickstart a whole lot of stuff. And it was just a basic, I hate to say bog standard, but it was like an ecological message, apparently, from the Pleiadians. But my first reaction was not to run out into the streets and say, "Oh my God, look after planet Earth." It was like, that was so weird. What the hell was that? And I described it to Lato, and it never really happened to her either, as far as I know. But although she had a very powerful, I think it was a full-on Kundalini strike way back before I met her. And I think these weird things happen, and they put us on the path, and it unfolds before us. But that got us thinking, wow. But I swear, honestly, it was such a clear, it was like a television broadcast, and for a while I was thinking that could have been the CIA putting up a signal at a certain frequency that they know that Reiki symbols, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest, but no, I don't think so. But it was a very profound and weird experience that I'd never expected, and that got us working together closely. We bought Jill's Lato is a big feminist. Not a big feminist, she's very slim and lovely, but she is a feminist. Why not? And she sees a lot of magic as just male bullshit, the misaligned male frequency, she calls it. And I dig that. But I am a male, so she's including me in that as well. So we started working together, we started channeling. I would have been ashamed to say that when I first started coming round from that trance. So I've almost come 360 degrees, but now a lot of the bullshit has been taken away, and I have to thank who else but Mr. C.W. Chanter for his realism, his pragmatism. This is something I know Todd admire, well, we all admire. There is spiritual gold in there, but it's getting all the chaff, all the confusion, all the noise, the static of all the liars, basically. Your David Wilcox, your Simon Parks, I notice Simon Parks. I always watch him. I love him. I love to hate him, if you know what I mean. But he's pulled back way from being the son of Anu and all that. I notice most of his questions now are kind of, oh, what's going on in Russia? And they're still nonsense. But everybody's taken a step back. I think for the Kerry Cassidy, that whole scene, perhaps the blue chickens were a step too far. And of course, Wilcox's resignation and the mysterious disappearance of C.W. Chanter, but all the and of course, since I'm talking about community, I don't want to gossip or nothing, but the bus stop, I wouldn't be the first person to make a video of it. I notice Mr. Eros made a very funny and concise video. No offence to the parties involved, I love you both. So on with the show. I'm supposed to be talking about magic. So yesterday, in my usual incoherent style, we got about as far as talking about the need for notebooks and pens when you start doing magic for writing your little journals. You've got to write down the rituals that you do every day, and I'll show you again the rituals that I am currently doing every day, and I did them just before I came on, as ever. You got your daily formula, Theoricus, circular breath, which is, breath is a very important component of magic. In every grade you have a specific breath that you do. In neophyte, I think it's just in for 4, out for 4, in for 4, out for 4, and it gets you to really focus heavily on your breath. This thing, cube of space. When you first start doing the LBRP, you just imagine your astral body growing and growing and growing and growing until it's the whole universe. Expand out to the whole universe. That then at Zelator they introduced this idea that you're actually in a cube. Everybody will say, oh, it's Saturn's cube. Well, nothing wrong with that cube. A cube is just a geometrical form. Don't go blaming forms, man. And like the pentagram, or even a upside down pentagram. The only person it would mean anything to is the operator. There's so much rubbish talked about magic. Sometimes offends me. It does. So the cube of space is a very weird thing, and I still find it hard to visualize myself in the universe as a cube, this big, and that's, I think, that purposely overload your mind with layer upon layer upon layer of imagery, symbolism, just to get yourself in that state. Gnosis, it invokes gnosis. And gnosis is, well, that's a show in its own, what gnosis is. And then, of course, the famous lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And back to the basics. Once you've got your diary and your pens, you need to get a text. I've been looking through this one again, Modern Magic, and it's a little bit harder to follow, and there's much more. But it is split into 12 lessons, and I think if you did it step by step, there's just so much information in there. It's hard enough to navigate through just so I'm still on the side of this one. If you are going to do Kabbalah magic, I've said his name about 1 million times. You should be paying me the 2 pence of interest that he's got through my fantastic, explosive work, and the millions of views, and the commotion in live chat right now. Calm down, people, stop it. I'm trying to talk about magic here. So you've got your diaries, you've got your felt pens. You'll also need, buy art supplies, buy loads of art supplies. I've actually got a white acrylic circle painted on my wooden floor here, which is very handy. But like I say, if you've got a date off Tinder, like I did, and she was a Bulgarian Orthodox Catholic, I had to cover it with this nice rug. I'm glad I bought it. It's a very nice rug. And it, a big white circle in the middle of your living room with all the stuff I've got around does make me look a little bit strange to non-magicos. that I know it's there. It is covered with a rug, but I know exactly where it is because I marked out with the cardinal points. And another thing about these cards is you can, once you've got a basic circle, which you can actually make out of string and have a totally portable one. I'm all for ease of use. You know, there's no point in making things more complicated because they're complicated enough. So, like, even if you get like 3 or 4 sheets of, you'll always need red paper, blue paper, yellow paper, black paper, violet paper, all these, and silver and gold. You know, you get those kind of paint pens, they can be quite good as well. Because you should be doing a lot of diagrams. For people that aren't artistic at all, there are ways around them. You can trace the things, but part of the thing is it is involving you in a whole creative process. It's not just ritual work, it's actual painting, which can be very therapeutic and enjoyable. You know, you've got to do all the colour scales, the Enochian boards, which can be quite, I mean, especially for me who can't even draw a straight line, I had to measure it all out, and I did it. I did it. It's amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it. Okay, been mumbling for 20 minutes now, that's not too bad. Got 2 viewers, whoever you are, God bless you. Those is blessings. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it never does. I've given up trying to make sense, I just want to talk, man. So you've got your diary, your art supplies. Make an attempt at, oh yeah, okay, so I'm going to be serious for a minute now. When you first start magic, the first things you'll be taught is breathing, some visualization. You know, you have to be able to see, for instance, when you're drawing out the pentagrams, you really need to see them in a sort of bluish white flame. If you've got a good imagination, usually people that are good at art have fairly good imagination, so it's not too difficult. But I've read books, you know, some books are just crazy. The amount of discipline that have you do. I'm sure I read a book, although I really haven't been reading books lately. All my information comes from YouTube. It's just so much easier, and it's so sad because I love books. But I haven't got the time, and reading a book on a computer screen is horrible. So you're doing arts, you're doing graphs, you're doing spiritual practice, you're doing your breathing, you're doing your visualizing. Like that book said, he said, stare at an apple for like, I don't know, a minute. A minute's a surprisingly long time, especially when you're watching this, I'd imagine. Imagine an apple, you'd stare at the real apple first, stare and stare and stare, then shut your eyes and try and hold it in your imagination in exact detail for as long as you can. Do that for like 100 years, and then you're ready to go on to actually projecting it onto there. So you hold it in your mind's eye, and then you just see the apple. So, I mean, it's quite easy to see. I can even eat it. So that's visualization. You're going to need that. So a week before starting any pentagram rituals, I must stress that I don't think any of these rituals are in any way dangerous, because you're not invoking anything. Certainly not entities, although there are angelic entities, but they're harmless, absolutely harmless. And at first you'll be doing it so badly that it won't actually work. It'll take a while for it to work. I would say about a month before you even start to feel it properly. Or you might get off to a flyer, maybe not a month. But it does take a while. It's something, it is an art you need to chisel away at. And like I say, I had to take a 2-year break while I got this job, but that was a direct result of doing the letter grade in the Golden Dawn system. I really think it was, because for so long my life had been in real wreckage, just jumping from one car wreck to another, and then all of a sudden I just suddenly saw I'd got a bit of clarity, and it's been a long process. This is Scotch whiskey, a whole glass, and I'm going to down it now. Oh, it's apple juice. Oh no, another one's come on, a new agey one. I just like my chanting.
It's quite normal when we start.
Advert.
For the mind to jump around.
Alright, it's quite normal. So of course I'm going to lose my place after that. Still got 2 viewers, so that's not too bad. I thought you'd all gone home by now. Don't go home, don't go home. Come, come. I've got lots of sense to talk now. That was just the warm-up bit. So you will be learning to breathe. The fourfold breath, like I say, the most simple one to start with. You also get tons of stuff on YouTube with guided meditations and chakra ones as well. There was one particularly good one, but I've lost track of it now. You find one, just type in chakra meditation or anything like that. I do think there's a big crossover between certain New Age techniques and certain magical ones. And that's what the Facebook group THOTH, which was an eventual, what would you say, product of the work that me and Jill had been doing after that weird Reiki event. And we met loads of interesting people, and that's also when I joined the Horus Mat Lodge. And going back to way where we started, initiation, that was my first, I think, no, we did the ISIS initiation. Initiation, yeah. We became votaries of ISIS, and we did it absolutely by the book. We bought all the materials that we needed to do it properly. I think we dyed eggs, a lot of eggs in the ISIS magic, as you would expect. It's all about fertility, goddess, a very beautiful, gentle system actually. So we went through a whole, there's things in magic like you've got to get a chicken's egg and it's not the actual act of buying the chicken's egg, it's the effort that you have to go to get this special thing. So we're good. We were very conscientious in the beginning, and there was also a thing called a tet, which we tied with, I think it was a special material, some lovely material. It was like silk, I think. And you tie this, it's almost like a bow tie, but it's a sacred Isis knot, and we kept it in a locker, and we started making, Latu is far, she is like an artisan. The ones she makes are absolutely beautiful. They've got, they're proper, this poor little thing like that. That's my want. But like I say, I'm not a Golden Dawn buff that everything has to be all the holy numbers, and there's a limited use to that. I do like a bit of gematria, especially when you're. Oh, the other thing I was going to talk about was this thing about adopting a separate magical identity, which I actually remember Crowley talking about the advantage of having. He had numerous. How many magical names and personas did he have? The Master Therion, the Great Beast 666, Baphomet, etc., and they're creating I think that's why people adopt names in chats and stuff, is so your whole being isn't invested in that act, and if things get too dicey, you can always just say, okay, he's done, and retire him. Oh, who's that? Jibstar. Oh, hey man. I presume it's a man, it might be a girl. Groovy. GGG star, thank you very much. My eyesight's terrible and I have to put on these glasses. I'm loath to do it, as you may know if you've ever watched this brilliant broadcast before. It's just actually really fun. I've been going for half an hour now. I really need to go to the toilet, but I ain't gonna. So let's try and narrow things down a little bit, I think, because I've got so much written down and so many ideas again. And the beginnings of magic are boring. I'm not interested in the other stuff. Let me see what we've got here. Because that's putting the coach before the horse. Right, so as you start, say you've never read any books on magic, which is highly unlikely, and you've never done a ritual before. Go out and get a good textbook, one with rituals in a full curriculum of some order. The most common one you're going to find is Golden Dawn. Get that, do what he says, and watch me for tips. Do the fourfold breath, practice with that every day. gradually work your way through the LBRP, where you'll be introduced to drawing pentagrams and all the elemental forms of the pentagrams. They all start in different points. You'll work your way through the banishing hexagram ritual. That is the EAO formula. That's a very famous Isis, Apophis, Osiris. That's the whole idea of the dying God, the resurrected God. It's ancient, you know, and Jesus was just one manifestation of that powerful archetype and that myth. And so much Golden Dawn magic is very Christian in nature, and that did put me off at first. But I'm not really Wicca, it just doesn't appeal to me for some reason. It's Western magic, and the kind of intellectual strain that I really enjoy bathing in. Wicca, all those other systems, I've looked at them and they don't appeal to me. I love reading about like the original Golden Dawn and the capers they got up to, and a lot of the early Crowley's early days were, I mean his whole life was fascinating, but when he was really active in like from the turn of the century to the 1920s, late 20s, what a fascinating life. And I have a bone to pick with that William Ramsey fella in his book The Prophet of Evil. What nonsense. Saying that, I mean, 93 was in 11, yeah, nonsense. I'm not going to even debunk it, but the idea that Aleister Crowley followers somehow caused the Twin Towers tragedy was and is ridiculous. And I know Joe from the Carolinas has done work with him, and he's probably a very nice guy, but there's too much. I mean, he says he's read all the biographies and stuff, so, and I don't know if he's actually read Crowley's work himself, so he obviously he is a Christian though, so, you know, we'll give him that. So I'm getting mightily blown around off course here. So, the Saroth the Mage thing, which I have found invaluable, and it's been a huge spur to my daily practice, which I haven't missed I did miss one day, but I mean, I've been doing extra, but that still doesn't excuse it, but it was the day after, I think, it could have even been the live chat on CW when I walk, when I've got to mention, before I forget, my dear friend, my Aberdonian friend, I Walk, has a new song on his YouTube channel, which is just called I Walk. He had it up and it was fantastic, and he's so modest, and he's a bit of a perfectionist, and he took it down, and I said, no, you should put it back up. In fact, I didn't, or did I? I think I just tried to encourage him to put it back up, because it's absolutely brilliant, and he's a very gifted man, and it's nice to have him as a friend. So what else have I written here? Oh yeah, when I said my first trip yesterday. Oh, expanding the process. How's it going, man? I'm just in the middle of one of my rambles. I was going to start speaking about one of the main forms of Thosis Gnosis, which we like to call the sacrament, because at the moment, due to some insane laws that some government somewhere thought up, there's no government here. Cool, baby. See, I get distracted by the live chat. So why are you live streaming then? I love the live chat. Gnosis on a Sunday is always the way. So yes, thank you for reminding me. Chat, you can maybe keep me on point sometimes. We call psilocybin the sacrament, and it's been very important in the development of the Thosis vibe. Thosis is a mixture of Thoth, or Tot, or Thoth, the Egyptian deity of magic, writing, wisdom, with a head of an ibis. Isis is obviously the goddess of 1,000 names. I have on my arm here, Isis is all things are Isis, from my days as an Isis votary and devotee. And when you mix this with good old, at first we started with homegrown psilocybin, which we could gather by the hundreds in certain rural places, but now they seem to have just literally dried up. Obviously, you only get them for about a month to 6 weeks in the autumn. So we found another route, obviously top secret, but so there was three. I mean, I'd done loads of psychedelics, but I'd stayed away from it for ages because with the medication I was on at the time, it made me feel like really wretched sometimes. I'd never had a technically bad trip, but sometimes I'd be stuck in the waiting room. But this time, this one was just mind-blowing. It's the one where I saw myself as this, like I say yesterday, this totally different being, and it was like, yeah, you've been that guy because we've been alive since the first ancestor. We all must apparently share one ancestor, although that's kind of mind-boggling. And it was like on the sacrament, you get a lot of stuff, DNA, sort of. The mushrooms themselves seem to have personalities, and they seem to be interested in DNA and evolution and almost forcing us to evolve in some way. And I also think that ritual magic and other techniques, yeah, groovy. I recommend the sacrament in all its forms, as long as you don't take it for silly recreational purposes. Which, I mean, we've all done it. Thank you, expanding the process, buddy. Thank you for coming in to chat. It's always good to, when you're doing a live stream, to have actually someone to talk to. So the psilocybin that night was just incredible. It was at the Magic Cottage, where we'll keep telling you, but I'll keep telling you, this beautiful temple space where everything has been magically arranged. You go in there, you curl up in blankets, lying, a couple of candles, some incense maybe. I do take a phone in, just for when you're coming out, because Lat was in the other room. We usually, one of us stays straight, the other one goes in, because we're taking, these are large doses now. Not that we think anything would happen, but it's just better that one goes and then the other goes. That's the way we do it with purification and consecration. That's the way we do it in rituals. That's the way we do it with everything. But this night was just especially strong, and I really struggled at the start. It was like all the darkness churning up inside me, which that's why I shy away from psychedelics, and a lot of people do it. It's like, I'm not going there again. I just got a battering and I just feel dreadful. But if you can cling on, I mean, I felt like I'd been just dropped into a very deep ocean, and predator fish were coming along. Funnily enough, this has happened before in the only other major one I had, the first one, but it wasn't as positive. It was a bit more confused and all over the place. But there was a series of 3 which really brought me to this point where I'm at, which is pretty much kind of like my Kundalini. I feel it sort of, it's high at the moment. I had a dip for a couple of days when the moon was almost new. That's not unusual, and this is on the sphere of the moon, so I'm going to feel moon stuff very much. Yeah, the 90s, I mean, everywhere in Britain, and I think America too, went crazy for psychedelics, MDMA, rave culture, and I really think that did open a few minds. That the doors of perception were cleansed as you enter the doors of the Fever or the Pelican, and talk about tribal. Everybody's dressed up in weird stuff. Not quite, I hated all that gas mask and all that horrible techno, but Fever and it was just ponchos and beads, we were trendy. And the Pelican Club was just crazy, and some nights just jump in, and it was just a shared joy that I don't think many Scottish men, who most of my friends have been like soccer hooligans, and the only reason I wasn't a soccer hooligan is I discovered drinking at that point, and me and my friend used to get drunk at home, and that was a bit much, wasn't it? And the whistles and all that was like teeny ravers. I actually no, that was really on the scene or in, but we went to see the Happy Mondays in Widnes and the Stone Roses at the Alexandra Palace in London, way back in the day when we hadn't even tried MDMA, and we bought some at the Happy Mondays gig and didn't think it was working, and oh yeah, it worked. And then the Stone Roses the night after, this great hyped band at the whole baggy Manchester scene was taking off. Totally, man. Um, it was just fantastic. The Happy Mondays had so much energy and Widnes, great little northern town, and it was bouncing. And then we went to London, all these scruffs piling out of a little minibus, out of our minds, with the big puddle sucker jeans, and our flowery t-shirts and our beads and our bowl haircuts. And we hit London, and we hit it hard, man. And London didn't hit back, and it was the worst gig I've ever seen in my life. Ian Brown is the most dreadful live singer I've ever seen. All we could hear is just this bass going burr, 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 burr all night, and fantastic weekend. But the Stone Roses, no. They made one half decent album, and I mean, their bootleg tapes are just horrendous. And as much as I do kind of respect Ian Brown for the path he's taken in life, and that is true magic, isn't it? Finding your path as, well, is it? Not necessarily, not if you're not meant to be a singer, but I think if you're an artist and you get paid for what you do and what you love, then that's magic. Right, I've only got like 15 minutes to go, and yet again, I've talked about everything else but what I came to talk about, which was, oh no, right, so I'll finish the psilocybin story and then I'm out of here, because I've got work, again, work, always work. I haven't got a day off till next weekend. Oh, by the way, expanding the process, are you still there? Is my volume okay today? Because I noticed yet again yesterday the music was much too loud because I had the speaker like right there. How's the sound? Can you hear my voice? And is there music in the background? Because yesterday the music was far too loud. I noticed if you wear headphones, like, cheers man. I noticed if you wear headphones, it's much easier to hear the live stream that I did yesterday. Not that it was a classic, but they are going to get better, hopefully. I think yesterday's was actually better than today. I've just been a little bit too unfocused today. So, the psilocybin did something. It triggered something, and Jill, Lato, who had been practicing all this time, was like, thank God, welcome back, because she'd been doing all the work every day, all on her own, with typical selfish me, no encouragement or help, really. So I was back on board the Thosis Gnosis bus, and that coincided with in my hermit period. It's good for a magician to study, especially the 22 Atus or major arcana, because they are a symbolic from the magician right up to the universe or the world. That is the magician's journey through all those stages. You know, the hand man, when you're seeing everything upside down, the moon with its lunar forces working, you know, you've got the planets, and of course the Crowley deck is a very beautiful, superior deck. So the psilocybin, so that was the first one, was like, I was showing all this blood and gut stuff. It was very warrior. I kind of got this idea that I had to develop or stick to a moral code of no lying, no cheating, absolutely morally scrupulous, because when you're in those deep psychedelic experiences, stuff will get shown up. You know, like, look what you did there, look what you did there. So your heart has to be weighed by the feather of Maat, which reminds me, I was talking about the Mount Horus Lodge, but we'll put that down for another day. So I had a terrific, basically it was just a huge boost that I needed. I felt absolutely plugged into the shaman sphere again. In fact, I rediscovered myself and my true being. And there was, like I say, there was a point in the trip where either eyes open or eyes closed, I was pretty much out of my body. and there was just all these strands of silver light, like a spider's web going off in each direction, and each one was attached to a person that I loved. Yeah, well, I'm in. Anything with the word gnosis in it, and I'll put thosis in the front and do it. So, yeah, beautiful experience. Troubling for the first hour, battling with these demonic forces, it seemed, but how much easier to deal with personifications of all these little fractured pieces of yourself. And that's another magical thing, this thing about shells and the breaking of shells. I think it's just the shattering of the psyche and the soul when bad things happen. Groovy, dude. Thank you so much for joining in, man. It's nice to get feedback as you're going along. So that was that one. The second one was equally powerful. I didn't expect it to be because it was truffles. Now the first one was very kind of angry. There were McKenna mushrooms. I'd never tried them before, and they definitely had a different vibe to the ones that the little Liberty caps that we get up here. Very solar, I thought, and they look like little penises. So they were the solar phallic initiation, and then the truffles, which I didn't expect to be nearly as strong, were just fantastic. This was an absolutely beautiful feminine experience. It was absolutely like a woodland goddess. That's how it became personified to me. And I was initiated into the sort of goddess, fairy, sort of beautiful. Everything was this blue, shimmery light. Oh, it was wow. Oh, even thinking about it, because Hathor was very involved with that. And my dear friend in Colorado, I believe you watch sometimes, so you were there too. Another Hathor. So I felt like I was being guided by all these beautiful forces, feminine forces, both male and female, if you know what I mean. And then to cap it all, the third and final one was the solstice, and that was the icing on the cake as far as that experience, the sacrament, went. I'd built up to it. I'd already started doing videos by then, I think. Yes, I certainly had. I was practicing from the first Saroth the Mage trip, and it was just beyond all expectation. I ended up, I'm almost 40, I'm almost 50, I'm 49, so I'm not going to be boasting about big doses on it, but it was 12 dried grams, and that is a lot for me, especially when I used to be wary of taking in over like 5. But the first cup took me to that place, but like I've said before, there was no friction, there was no battle, and I need to battle, because that's the arena where you battle with your demons. And the trick is to incorporate them, like Jordan Peterson. I've been watching a lot of shadow work stuff going about at the moment, and I'm totally loving it, because I absolutely had to come to terms with my shadow self, because it was the addict, it was this fear. Fear causes demons. Demons are scared. They're not powerful. We need to free them. The human being is far more powerful than. Without my glasses, it's hard to read the long bits, but I'll read it. I always rewind the chat just to see if I've missed anything. But thank you so much for your participation, sir. So the last one up, it was just no demons. The path had been cleared, and I really had the most intense magical experience of my life. Quite simply, the whole weekend had been steeped in ritual magic, the beautiful, loving kind that we do when I'm with Lato, who is a very gentle female presence, and she stops the male ego getting out of hand, because Saroth does have an ego, believe it or not, plastering himself all over Facebook. Not Facebook, it's YouTube, isn't it? Yeah, I noticed they do Facebook Live as well, which, never. YouTube till I die. So that's the trips. So there was a guy who was into magic and mythosis stuff, and he had a real name, and I'm sure you could find it if you looked hard enough. But the new man started just before the summer solstice. Well, no, a month before the summer solstice. Oh god, that's somebody popping up on Messenger now. Aye, type bigger. That's a much, yeah, guys. For me, sometimes capital letters would be great. So the psilocybin and the thosis thing have grown absolutely together. It informs it, the profundity of vision that you have when you're at that. You know, I use words like exalted and da-da, but you do feel pretty exalted, believe you me, if you take that amount. And it's just you're in a different place, a different dimension, and like Terence McKenna said about sweeping up in the ashram, spiritual practices only get you so far, but if you boost them, if you put a little rocket fuel, I think you can go much further, and that's what I intend to do. I have a job, but it's a job where I don't have to be too traditional. I mean, I could pretty much go like this without the regalia of the ring and the... There's the ring. Look, somebody was asking me about that ring. I have no idea what that stone is. I actually, believe it or not, bought it off a shoplifter in Edinburgh. I was sitting having coffee with some friends, and he came along and offered it to me for like a tenner or something. And it was just too... I love it. It's just chunky silver. I only wear it for magic. That's another thing about the magical personality. A ring or stuff like that. You know, Crowley said when you put on that ring, that is you in your magical personality. When you take off the ring, you're just plain old Alistair again. And gosh, you know, that's the hour up almost, guys. It's been groovy again. I wish I'd, you know, if I'd just stick to my notes, I wouldn't be so rambling, but I guess this is how it comes in. I mean, there's so much that I'm going to be broadcasting for the rest of my life, talking about pads and pencils and LBRPs. So maybe not beginner's magic, maybe just listening to old Saroth wag his beard. Right, I'll just say goodbye, whoever the 3 people, and if it's the same 3 people, you've done well to go right through this for an hour. Thank you so much. Roundtable chat, absolutely. If it's in reasonable Scottish time, I will totally do it. And thank you, expanding the process. You're turning out a bit of a legend. Roundtable would be fantastic. I love doing that sort of thing. I possibly prefer it to just tap dancing on my own. I never really meant to start a channel. Well, did I? Yeah, I kind of did after that Saroth the Mage trip. Okay, I think that's going to have to do because it's been groovy, but work beckons and it's a drag. I'll be there till 10 o'clock tonight. Cheers, babies. Love yous. Please subscribe, hit the like, all that jazz. You won't get flashy grass. Well, you will occasionally. All right. Bye-bye. I just want to count down until it's exactly 1 hour because I'm weird like that. That's vibration, you see. Yeah, I have to do it so your whole body shakes eventually. See, I could have been talking about breath work, sound. I'm getting all my ideas back now. Typical. It's a very capricious thing, is live streaming. Hey, Broseph. Hey, dude. Bye, man. Thanks for watching. I hope that wasn't too bad. I've got a feeling it wasn't fantastic. Hold on, what the hell time is it? I could have been speaking all this time. Oh my god, it's only... anyway. Love you guys. Catch you very soon. I'll be live streaming all the time. You know how it goes. Okay. Cheers, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.